Alright everyone, welcome to What's Happening podcast on Bedworth Times. Our tagline says it all. Everybody wants to know what's happening. This is What Are People Talking About segment where we sit down, unpack what's stirring and keep it real for those curious minds out there. Right now people are talking about the New Orleans Zulu parade and it sparked a firestorm we can't ignore. A cultural clash between South Africans and African Americans that's got the diaspora in a chokehold. It all started with a viral TikTok video and we are diving in deep to unpack the mess. Here what's going down. A viral TikTok video posted by @Shala the Unicorn on X went off captioned, "Found out there is a Zulu parade in New Orleans. Yeah, I'm trying to wrap my head around this." That clip got about 13 million views as of today and it's got everybody talking. South Africans, African Americans and the whole diaspora. Opinions are divided and it's led to a heated debate on X about identity, heritage and who gets to claim what.
Yeah, let me get two quick pics in the...
Donnell, that's you? boy, look at you, boy, looking like...
So what's the deal? A New Orleans parade float shown in that TikTok misrepresented Zulu culture with stereotypes. Grass skirts, coconuts, military attire, and what looks like blackface. South Africans are calling it out as cultural insensitivity, and they are not wrong to feel that way.
Zulu, utawaini. Zulu, utawaini. Zulu, utawaini. Zulu, utawaini. Zulu, utawaini. Zulu,
The Zulu Parade, organized by the Zulu Social Aid and Pleasure Club since 1909, is a cornerstone of New Orleans Mardi Gras, a celebration rooted in the city's African American and Creole culture. Back then, black participants started this as a satire, a way to flip the script on racist minstrel shows and mock the all-white Mardi Gras crews. They'd wear grass skirts and hand out coconuts and paint their faces with black and white makeup, with some now called blackface. Over time, it's become a tradition tied to New Orleans identity, with locals arguing it's about their heritage, not mockery. They point to icons like Louis Armstrong, who was Zulu King in 1949, as proof of its cultural weight. But South Africans, especially Zulus, see it differently. The Zulu people are the largest ethnic group in South Africa, over 10 million strong, rooted in KwaZulu-Natal with a history shaped by legends like King Shaka and traditions like the Reed Dance. Seeing Americans in what looks like blackface and stereotypical tribal get-ups labeled as Zulu feels like a gut punch to many. They are saying it's cultural appropriation, reducing their proud heritage to a caricature without understanding its depth. Some on X even suggest the Zulu Kingdom should sue New Orleans. This clash isn't about who's right, it's about a disconnect. New Orleans sees it as a century-old tradition with local meanings. South Africans see it as an outsider's misrepresentation of their identity. It's a diaspora debate pitting black American culture against African heritage, with both sides feeling misunderstood. Now let's hear what folks are saying on X, where this debate is straight up explosive.
South Africans are furious about this. There have been several videos going viral of a Zulu parade in New Orleans in the United States. And what's made so many people angry is how they are dressed and how what they are wearing looks nothing like traditional Zulu attire. The Americans who support the Zulu parade say this is a tradition they have been doing in New Orleans for decades and that South Africans are misinterpreting it. Americans have defended this parade by saying it actually has nothing to do with the real Zulu tribe in South Africa. They say it's just the name. However, on the side of the bus, it literally says African Zulu. Also, if you go onto their official website, there are many references to the actual Zulu tribe in South Africa. For example, one of their characters is known as a Zulu witch doctor. A witch doctor is a South African name and a South African term. It literally says here on the site, in Zulu's ancestral land of Africa, the witch doctor is referred to as a sorcerer, prophet, or healer. So it seems this group does link itself to the actual Zulu tribe. So do you think this is offensive to the Zulu culture? Let me know what you think in the comments.
At the Titan, Betty said, "What I'm noticing in this Zulu parade conversation is that some Black Americans don't understand that Zulu people are existing people who can currently object to inaccurate portrayals of their culture. They think Zulu people are a historical concept like mermaids." At Barbara Beauty _ added, "I just don't understand why it's an issue if South Africans voice that they are offended by a misrepresentation of their culture. Black Americans never shy away from saying when they are offended. No critical thinking is being used there." At Kev on stage dropped, "The diaspora wars remind me that racism is at the root of it all. We fight each other and white people caused the problems." Ladida X responded, "I hate it, Kev. I'm black and Nigerian and African and American. I ain't fighting nobody in the diaspora. That's not a battle I created. I love all of us and want us to build each other up." But at HRH Beach _ went in, saying, "African Americans are one of the black people we just unfortunately have to leave behind. They are too far gone and are exactly like their oppressors. You can't even educate them out of their ignorance," it said. At Tired Feminist _ was shook, saying, "These are Zulu people. Americans are so disrespectful. OMG, blackface on top of that." At Straight Marvin pushed back, saying, "I think you need to read a bit more about this parade and also find out the meaning of blackface. It cannot be blackface when it's black people." At Just _ mesh noted, "These people have been celebrating this for 100 years, way before technology." At Louis Facts IGB flipped it, saying, "South Africans trying to say folks from New Orleans have no culture when the biggest genre out there right now, Amapiano, traces its stylistic roots back to jazz. And where did jazz start? New Orleans, by Black Americans. No New Orleans, no Tyler. Y'all are our musical little cousins, whether you like it or not." At Luna Bro explained, "It started as a spoof from a skit about the Zulu tribe, a joke between local black working class that became popular. The black makeup is tradition now. You don't see us complaining when Africans say nigger, as if they are Black American." At _ Melo underscore fired back. African offended by everything. Americans will preach all day about blackface, culture vultures, culture appropriation, and get mad at anyone who says nigger, but somehow can't grasp how ridiculous and offensive this is to actual Zulu people. What a bunch of clowns. At Credo underscore the second, a Zulu user showed love saying, I'm Zulu and I love your people. Twitter is not a real place. Half the people complaining are just members of other tribes that are jealous. You guys are acknowledging the Zulu legacy anyway. At Mama underscore Nishia, Free Shade saying, if Akon would have never gave them the internet, they wouldn't know anything about New Orleans. At Phil Impella, clapped back. American education system will never be the allegations. Akon is Senegalese, Zulus are in South Africa. Africa is a continent with 54 countries. For people bragging about having internet before the others, you sure don't use it to your intellectual benefit. At VSL Genesis went low saying, no wonder the whites see you all as shooting targets. Low IQ MFS in the streets. At Southna T defended New Orleans saying, mind your business if you are not from Louisiana. Don't give a tweet what you all do over there. So why you all worried about us? Especially when we are being respectful to our culture. At underscore Lady Topaz countered, Zulu culture is not your culture. It's not your ancestors' culture. It has zero ties to you. Picking and choosing bits and pieces of other people's culture is why you will remain lost. At Queenie4R highlighted their roots saying, in New Orleans, one of our most popular dishes is gumbo, which we maintain from our West African roots. That's why it's so funny seeing some of you debate our African heritage. The proof is literally in every spoonful. At Soulful Child 868 added nuance saying, while gumbo has influences from West African, French, Spanish, and indigenous traditions, its evolving in New Orleans reflects a creolized Black American experience, not a direct preservation of African identity. Cultural retention is in the same as uninterrupted heritage. Black Americans developed a distinct identity shaped in the US, and while Africa is a piece of a root, it's not the whole tree. At Queen for Armola Hitback, making fun of Black Americans for not knowing African languages is crazy, because if you are reading this, you too have been touched by colonialism. At Yeah Bullet got heated saying, oh, just change something because people on a completely different continent are offended, even though they say we are not African anyway. Nothing in America even matters. Go find a heart to build and leave us the F alone. At Palisa Mohorosi underscore replied, you are definitely not African, and which is literally the reason you should not be naming clownish parades after African ethnic groups that you have no relation with whatsoever. You have your own identity that you can bastardize and make a mockery of. Zulus are not caricatures. At Musa underscore Mansa summed it up, saying, Americans find it hard to comprehend why culture is important to South Africans and why such a disgusting parade is an insult. This debate is raw, fam. Let that sink in. The question of the day, what does the text say about the shared Black identity across the diaspora? Drop your thoughts in the comments. If this is hitting you, hit that like button and subscribe to What's Happening podcast on Bedworth Times for more real talk and conversations like this. Real talk, this clash cuts deep, and we at Bedworth Times can't help but feel the weight of it. It's not just about a parade, it's about identity, heritage, and who gets to define it. On one side, we've got New Orleans holding on to a tradition that's been around since 1909. Born out of resistance against segregation and racism. They see the Zulu parade as a celebration of black resilience and a way to reclaim space and mock the mockers, as historians like Lawrence Powell have pointed out. But on the other side, South Africans, especially Zulus, see this as a straight-up disrespect. The Zulu nation isn't some historical artifact. It's a living culture of over 10 million people with traditions, language, and pride. Seeing their names slapped on a parade with blackface and stereotypes feel like erasure, like their identities being reduced to a costume for someone else's party.
Let's move on to this story then. African Americans have been receiving backlash over their Zulu parade. Zulu Social Aid and Pleasure Club in New Orleans are accused of cultural appropriation and blackface. Now, there are arguments that the festival has existed since 1909, when Black Americans could not attend Mardi Gras. Joining us.
Here's my 3 cents on the Zulu parade. And mind you, I am Black American, but I am not from New Orleans. The Zulu parade or even Mardi Gras is not a part of my cultural expression or my cultural identity as a Black American. But I just want to give everybody in the diaspora some food for thought. Can it be that when our brethren in Blackness deem something that is done in their name as disrespectful or offensive, can it just be that? An example, when folks are walking around doing AAVE, in box braid, being caricatures of Black Americanness, and we say that it's offensive, and other people who are not culturally Black American say that it's not offensive, it's disrespectful to us because culturally, that's not who we are. So although the Zulu parade is over 100 years old, in 2025, Zulu people in South Africa are saying, hey, that's offensive. And it's no shade, but blackface in 2025? No matter what the history, the minstrel show thing is just always going to be like, ooh, for me. Can we, as Black folks of the diaspora, be able to say, you know what? I see you, I hear you, and I recognize that culturally this isn't as sound as maybe we thought it was. And although we may have done this thing our whole lives, once folks educate us on how it is that we can position ourselves to learn more, to do better, then can we just do that without the back and forth?
Guys, I figured out the problem. America is a copy and paste country. They all copy each other. Their influences are the same. There's no culture. There's nothing unique in that culture. So when they see South Africans and they see that we have so much diversity in our country, they want to participate. They want to be part of that. Hence the Zulu parade that they are doing. But anyways, last year there was an argument about the matric dresses, like how our dresses are so unique and their prom dresses are all the same, feather dusters, you know that. So I feel like they lack a sense of diversity. So I don't know if we should accommodate them or what, but I actually feel bad for them. Like, I feel so sorry. And now they are busy fighting in my previous video, but it's okay.
Alright, this is my 2 cents about the whole Zulu parade in New Orleans and the Zulu Nation, the South Africans going back and forth. I'm going to be 100% honest. First of all, y'all not going to put us all in the same fucking boat, okay? Them New Orleans niggas is different. They their own people, okay? Alright, so we not going to put all Black Americans in this shit, okay? I've never been in New Orleans. I've never been to Bourbon Street. I've never been down there, so I don't even know what the fuck was going on until I actually went and looked. I do know about the Zulu Nation, everything that takes place over there, because I've been trying to appropriate myself with the culture. To see the New Orleans shit, bruh, y'all got to be fucking kidding me. That shit look like a clown show. That shit look like a mockery. That shit like some shit they made y'all do when y'all was in slavery to put on a fucking show for them. That shit ain't appropriate, and I side with the South Africans on this one.
Yo, it's late at night and I'm fucking cackling. You South Africans, I love you. I love you so much. The way you're cussing off the Black Americans. They said the only thing they know about South Africa is Nelson Mandela and Mapiano. And then you guys come back with shout out to the police for doing their job. That's fucked. And they're steady trying to defend blackface, which is so fucking ironic. Yoy. And this is what I've been trying to tell the rest of the house. There is no point. There is no point going back and forth. There is no point in trying to educate. There is no point in trying to create dialogue. Because as far as they're concerned, they're the only black people on the motherfucking planet. Mind you, I'm not going to lie, I've only met a handful that are actually intelligent and that can hold a conversation. So please, don't try and take some of them seriously, as painful and as eye-watering as it is.
So Americans were attacking Tyler for being colored, and they never wanted to do the research or understand why they're being called colored in South Africa, right? Anyways, you're not there. Now, what I want to know about the Zulu parade is, how did y'all come about with the name Zulu? Maybe Zulu means something else in New Orleans. I want to know that, right? But how did you guys come up with the name Zulu? And when I look at the pictures and the videos of the Zulu parade, there's white people there who have painted their faces. Like, I want to know, bro, like, why is there white people there, but you guys say that it was started by black people in the 1900 something? I want to know, bro. I want to know, why is there white people in the Zulu parade thing? And how did you all come up with the name Zulu parade?
I want to give my 2 cents on this Zulu parade in New Orleans. Ugh. First of all, I feel like it's very, very insulting for the people who are actually Zulu here in South Africa. And as a South African, I can tell you now that the way you paraded how Zulu, the way you say it, people are, it's actually far from it. And now you're making videos and you're targeting the wrong nation, my bro. You're targeting the wrong people, because somehow we always find a way to stand united on things that we need to stand united on. And you want to tell us that we should come over there and try and stop you guys? I can promise you now that Uncle Juju Malema, if we tell him and we all pitch in around R1 for a plane ticket, I can tell you now your Zulu parade is gonna be over and done with. Because it's insulting to people who are actually Zulu and proud of it. Okay, so don't tell them to go and research their own culture if they were born into it. It's not something for you to make fun of or just to enjoy because you think it's pretty. And the way you made your Zulu culture look is far from how it actually is. As someone who's been in this country every Heritage Day, seeing how the people get dressed, being proud of where they came from and who they are, it's just insulting. And you really are trying to pick a fight with the wrong nation, with the wrong people. You are uncultured and you don't know much of the world. Some Americans are really just stupid. I mean, you guys think that animals like lions and elephants are just roaming the streets here. So if someone needs to be taught about the culture of Zulu, it's you guys, not us. So that's my 2 cents, my opinion on this New Orleans Zulu fucking parade. Stop it.
I've been thinking about this whole diaspora war between South Africans and Black Americans in New Orleans, and I'm so surprised, but not really, at the reaction from Black America. And I think it's because Black Americans have been so used to calling out other people who have misunderstood or misinterpreted our culture, that like is very difficult to hear when it's us who has made the mistake. And you know, I really think that Black America should take this moment to be teachable, because it's not about the culture. It's not about, you know, the parade having persisted or having existed for 100 years. You know, people back in the day couldn't ring up South Africa and be like, hey, is this a accurate depiction of Zulu culture? Even though it doesn't really make sense for Zulu to have been the choice, because genetically we are not descendants of South Africa. We are descendants of West Africa. But my point is that like people couldn't, like they weren't in the age of the internet back when the Zulu parade started. But now we are, and we got people from the source saying like, hey, this ain't it. Like, this is just making us look like a joke, like a caricature. The defensiveness from Black Americans in New Orleans it's almost like it's white Americans in their first initial reactions when being held accountable for minstrel art. And my whole point is not to say like, oh, well, we just need to do away with the parade. But I do think that it would say something if the organizers of Zulu Parade like really took this moment to be teachable and to say, hey, like let's reconsider the way that we are going about this. Like, even if it's just a matter of changing the name to Minstrel Parade, which I think that would be sufficient. Like, if the blackface is so important to the story because, you know, it was Black America's way of saying, hey, like, you're not going to let us be in Mardi Gras parades, so we're going to do this thing and be loud and proud about it. Like, I understand that history. Like, I'm not from New Orleans, but my people from Baton Rouge, like, I get it. But if the source is telling you, like, hey, this is a offensive thing, like, let's be sensitive to that. Rename the shit to Minstrel Parade. That's what it is.
Here's our take and social commentary here at Bedworth Times. This clash exposes a real disconnect, and we are calling it out. Black Americans might be grappling with an identity crisis here. Some South Africans on X are saying the only culture Black Americans have is Thanksgiving, twerking, gun violence, and face tattoos. Nay, on a serious note, what they are missing in this discourse is that South Africans are saying stop mimicking their Zulu culture because they find the mockery offensive. Whereas when Africans on X who are upset about the Krewe of Zulu Parade highlight this cultural disconnect, they are called Motherland Twitter and told if Akon would have never gave them the internet, they wouldn't know anything about New Orleans. Those insults just fuel the flames. We are reminded of a neurolaunch.com article on the psychology behind mockery, which says the media often glorifies mockery as entertainment. This normalization of mockery can desensitize us to its potential harm and even encourage imitation. The parade float, viewed as mockery by South Africans, shows how such actions can perpetuate harm and reinforce stereotypes. Let's dig deeper with a New York Times article, Why We Are Capitalizing Black, by Nancy Coleman. It argues that capitalizing Black affirms a shared identity to African Americans, rooted in their unique history of slavery, segregation, and resilience in the U.S. Coleman writes, Black is a culture, not a costume. This hits hard here. Black Americans in New Orleans might see the Zulu Parade as part of their cultural expression, but to South Africans, it's a costume, not their culture. We see the disconnect coming down to this. Black Americans have forged a distinct identity, creolized over centuries in the US, as Ed Soul Child 868 pointed out. But that doesn't give them a free pass to borrow an African ethnic group's name and twist it into something that feels like a mockery to the actual culture bearers. This ain't just a parade problem, it's a diaspora. It's a diaspora war exposing deep wounds. And we at What's Happening podcast are here for it. Colonialism and racism tore black folks apart, scattering them across the globe. And now they are here fighting over who gets to claim what. New Orleans folks say, this is our history, not yours to judge, while South Africans hit back. You don't get to borrow our name and mess it up. Both sides are right and both sides are wrong. The real enemy here is the system that pitted them against each other. Colonialism, slavery, and white supremacy that fractured their connections. But let's keep it real. Traditions can evolve. If the Zulu parade's blackface and stereotypes are hating actual Zulus, maybe it's time to rethink it. History isn't an excuse to keep doing harm. And to the Americans throwing insults like go build a hut or Akon gave you the internet, that's just lazy. You can't claim African roots with gumbo 1 minute and then mock Africans the next. Do better. Let that sink in. The question of the day, what does this clash say about the shared black identity across the diaspora? Drop your thoughts in the comments. If this is hitting you, hit that like button and subscribe to What's Happening podcast on Bedworth Times for more real talk and conversations like this.
For the past couple of days, I've been seeing South Africans and people from my hometown of New Orleans go back and forth on here about the Zulu parade for Mardi Gras. And I never thought I'd ever have to speak on this because this is like a memory from my childhood. Before Katrina, I actually rode in the Zulu parade. Full blackface, costume, and all that. I was a kid. I wasn't supposed to do that, but in real life, I'm 6'6". And even as a kid, I was still big. So I was able to get away and lie about my age. That was not supposed to happen, but it still happened. And that whole day, from start to finish, is one of my most fond memories. My family, my grandfather, God rest his soul, my father, and my uncle are all part of the Zulu Social Aid and Pleasure Club in New Orleans that was created for black people. I was a junior Zulu. I've seen that club change the lives of people. I've seen that club help people out. I've seen that club connect people. I've seen that do a lot of positive for individuals and that city as a whole. Lord knows that city needed. So I'm saying this to say that back then and even now, this was never meant to be offensive or appropriate the culture of South African Zulu people. This was never the intention of that. The intention of that was to create a community for black people in New Orleans, to give black people in New Orleans a voice, so black people in New Orleans can organize. And at bare minimum, it's meant really to venerate you, South African Zulu people, for your contributions to the world for producing Shaka Zulu. Again, I reiterate, at bare minimum, as an afterthought. Again, I've been looking at this and seeing all these different videos on both sides. I've watched people give history lessons. I've watched people give me the whole history of the Zulu people and everything. I've been reading the comments on both sides. I just think it's crazy that as a black American, I'm always ever present of this rhetoric coming from the other brothers and sisters in the diaspora that we have a lack of culture. And the second we create something for ourselves in this country, by the way, which is very hard to do, it's always under scrutiny. It's always under a microscope. It's always under this. And we can never just be. We can never just be without these people or some of our own scrutinizing us and saying what we can and can't do or what's acceptable or appropriate and what's not. And it's real funny to me as a New Orleanian, because out of most of the black folk in America, we the ones with some of the most culture. It's just funny, bro. I just wish we could all just be on the same page with some shit. And I don't know whether to blame it on tribalism, exclusionism, or white supremacy. And I'm not saying as, the people of South Africa shouldn't be offended. Feel how you feel. I'm not here to tell you how to feel. I'm just telling you what is. That being said, come on, bro. Y'all have a good day, man.
I know this conversation is kind of old like it's 3 days old, but I still have to kind of comment on it. It is kind of weird that there are so many Zulu people who are just now turning their eyes to like New Orleans and the whole Zulu parade. And then while you have African Americans, especially African American Creoles, which is a specific type of African American culture, tell you the contextual meaning behind the Zulu parade, which, spoilers, the Zulu parade does not have to do with the actual Zulu people. It's more of a tribute and homage to the Zulu ideology and the Zulu mentality that was prevalent in like the early 1900s. You still have a lot of Zulu people and South African people talking about, we don't care about the context. We don't care about the context. We just want you to change the name. Which, honestly, I can't really be mad at, but the way that some of these South Africans have been blatantly xenophobic and engaging in blatant acts of anti-intellectualism, while at the same time, on their own continent, in their own homeland, they actually had a Coon minstrel parade that was going on for decades. Like, it's just really weird that now they want to get their panties up in a bunch and be like, oh, you're appropriating our culture, you're appropriating our culture. Meanwhile, you have literal European clubs that actively name themselves after Zulus. You have Afro-Brazilian people who name themselves after Zulus. And then you also have Asian people who have a whole as Zulu festival that is celebrated over in like Japan and China and something like that. And the reason why I say it's weird is because y'all only seem to want to target African Americans, especially when it benefits you or when you get some traction. Like right now, there's this South African lady who is trying to make fun of African Americans for, you know, picking cotton and stuff like that. Meanwhile, like, that's just really dumbfounded considering that, like, white supremacy has been a recurring factor across the entire African diaspora. Like, not just African Americans, not just South Africans, but the entire African diaspora. And y'all ain't saying squat when it comes to the British or the Brazilians or any of them people. It's weird.
So, what can we do to bridge this gap and heal the diaspora divide? Here are the recommendations. First, educate yourself, whether you are in New Orleans or KwaZulu-Natal. Learn about each other's histories. Black Americans read up on Zulu culture. South Africans dig into the history of Mardi Gras and New Orleans Black resistance. Second, listen without defensiveness. If someone says they are offended, hear them out instead of clapping back with insults. Third, push for dialogue. Organize visual panels or X spaces where South Africans and Black Americans can talk face to face, not just throw shade online. Fourth, support cultural exchange. New Orleans folks invite Zulu cultural leaders to the parade to share authentic traditions. South Africans share your heritage through art, music, and storytelling to build understanding. We all have a role to play in this healing. Let us sit. What does this pledge say about shared Black identity across the diaspora? Drop your thoughts in the comments. If this is hitting you, hit that like button and subscribe to What's Happening podcast for more real talk and conversations like this. Before we close, let's do some real to bridge this gap. Share this episode with your friends, family, and community to spark a convo about cultural respect. Join or host the Diaspora Dialogue, whether on X or in person, to listen and learn from each other. Let's turn this pain into progress. What's the wait? A parade in New Orleans, a pain in South Africa, two black worlds collide, and the scars of history ignite. Diaspora wars show we are still bleeding from the same colonial knife. We are out, but the convoy is not. Drop a comment. How do we heal this divide? Like, subscribe, and let's keep this fire burning with the curious Jen. Because when culture clashes, history crashes. Keep it real, stay honest, we are out.